If you haven't heard about them, you better crawl out from under that rock. I'm talking about the new TriggerTech line of triggers. They're all the rage. It's what everybody's talking about. So this is Jeff Brozovich from LongRangeOnly.com with a review here on the TriggerTech Triggers. So let's take a closer look at what makes these different, how they operate, and what they can do for you in a very affordable price trigger. I first became aware of the TriggerTech Triggers, it's been quite a while ago, about a year or so ago, and I started hearing a little scuttle around about these new triggers. Good friend of mine, Ryan Avery from Rockslide, had used several of them. He turned me on to them. I started checking them out. I was liking what I was seeing. I liked what I felt. I liked the price point. Then I noticed, as I started reviewing rifles for Christensen Arms, I noticed they started using TriggerTech triggers in their rifles. I got to adjust a lot of them. I got to play with a lot of them, and I really liked what I found out here. And there's something you need to know about TriggerTech that makes them exclusive in the trigger market, something no one else has. And that would be their FRT, Friction Release Technology. Now what is that, Friction Release Technology? Well, in all the triggers we've been used to for years, you've got the sear engagement, and that consists of the trigger shoe and the sear inside the trigger, two mating surfaces of metal that slide along each other until they break free. You got to have a certain amount of engagement there to keep it safe. The angles have to be perfect. Some are better than others depending on how they were hand tuned and how they were hand polished as they were assembled. Well, what TriggerTech's done is they've incorporated, and I'll show you a picture here, a roller, a cylinder roller between these two items, between the trigger and the sear. And that roller takes away that friction and lets that trigger break the same every time. You saw me just testing this one here at 1.5 pounds on my little 6.5 Creedmoor. That thing has broke at 1.5 pounds on the scale every single time I do it. I get behind it, I try my hardest, I concentrate only on trying to feel creep, and I can't feel any creep in it. It just breaks, well, TriggerTech says like a glass rod, and I guess that's a good description. It just breaks crisp. When it goes, it's gone. And I like that about them. Well, what about after the break of the trigger? Let's talk about that a little bit. TriggerTech has developed a mechanism in here, and it incorporates a little lever they call a ticker. And what that allows them to do is, after the break of the trigger, you'll notice hardly any over travel in the mechanism. They state 15 thousandths or less over travel. That's a good feel. What does that do for you? That helps you with your follow through, holding that trigger back, and then release. In an instance where you're maybe in a competition shoot or something, you want to do multi-fire, this becomes important because the trigger has to come back less. So you're able to, the movement of the trigger is down to almost nothing, forward and back. So, it allows crisper re-engagement when you trip your bolt and come back for that second shot too. Another big thing about the TriggerTech trigger line is there's only one adjustment on these bolt action rifle triggers. You got your spring tension. No more sear adjustment. That's all been taken care of with that friction release technology. And so all you got is this one screw in the bottom, which you can do with the trigger installed in the rifle. You don't have to take your rifle apart, reach in there with an Allen wrench and adjust it. And the other neat thing you'll find is they put clicks in it. They put detents. So each click is so many pounds or 1/4 pounds or 1/8 pounds or whatever. But so you can actually count the clicks, and if how many to go back and forth to get that poundage set just where you want it. Another thing I want to talk about here is, we were at SHOT Show and we met with TriggerTech, and we went over their design. They had models taken apart there so we could look at them. And they talked about their safety mechanism. And one of the things I noticed about these triggers right off, if you've ever had a rifle with a crunchy safety, man, you go to take it off and it's like, it just feels crunchy, you know, it doesn't move smooth. These things, every one of them, just a nice little, the safety coming off as smooth as silk. Well, they went on to tell me about inside of this, most safeties just block one of two things, either the sear or the trigger itself, the trigger shoe itself. They've got a mechanism inside of here where they actually block the sear and the trigger lever. So it's like a double safety to make sure when you get it on safe, it's a safe situation. So I live in Montana. It's really dusty. I've had problems, I'm sure many of you had, where you get too much dust inside your trigger buildup and it starts malfunctioning. And then there's some brands of triggers that are worse about this than others. So I questioned TriggerTech on how, what they've done about this, or dust, or getting in, or anything like that. And they showed me some testing they did, where they actually filled these triggers full of debris and sand and grit and dirt, and they still broke the same poundage, the same crispness. So one of the most versatile, bulletproof designs you can have to go out there and abuse your gun a little bit, get it filled up with dirt or whatever may happen on a hunt. We don't know. We're going to drop it or what's going to happen, and you still got a reliable trigger to finish the hunt until you get time to clean things up. Other construction point of interest on these triggers is the housing is constructed of some very high quality T7075 aluminum. The inside stuff is all stainless. All the metal parts inside are stainless. 440C stainless steel. Good stuff, all good components, and that helps reduce your stacked up tolerances when you use good materials. Nothing's changing, nothing's going away. It's all staying the same for a long period of time. For those of you in the retail business that might be considering these, they come packaged very nicely in a plastic container that shows the trigger, shows the quality. The triggers are really good looking. So you can hang them on a pegboard, have them in stock for retail applications. TriggerTech offers these triggers available for bolt action rifles, semi-automatic rifles, and also for crossbows. They're big into the world of crossbows. For the bolt action rifles, the 700 Remington is the one they're making right now, and I think they're going to add more later. Available with or without safety. Two different design trigger shoes, either the curved shoe that we're all used to, or they have a flat straight shoe that you can choose from. It's also available in their standard, I believe it's 1.5 to 4 pounds in their standard trigger, or they make what they call a special trigger. Now this is one where they've reduced the spring weight down a little bit. I think it goes 1 pound, clear down to 1 pound to 3 pounds, and it's just a little higher price trigger, but just a little finer adjustment and a little better quality, I guess. And it's the primos of everything they can do, and their tolerances are reduced to the utmost perfect condition. Something else you may want to know about when we talk about this FRT, friction release technology, and that roller between the sear and the trigger shoe, this gives the feel to you of, in the same conventional trigger, the same conventional trigger and this trigger set at the same poundage, the TriggerTech will feel a ½ pound lighter. So keep that in mind when you're ordering pound weight, that this TriggerTech is going to feel a ½ pound lighter. So when you get one of their special triggers and get it down to 1 pound, it's a pretty light trigger. You're not going to have to think about it very much, and she's going to be gone. So again, for the bolt action 700 Remington, they offer the primary trigger that's 1.5 pounds to 4 pounds. And then they offer the special trigger that goes to lighter weights and is finer refined. They make that in right and left hand both, so you got a choice there if you're a left-handed shooter. So then we move on to the semi-automatic rifles. They offer 3 different triggers for the semi-automatic rifles. Let's go over which ones they are. So in the semi-automatic AR line, we'll go over the 3 types of triggers they offer for us AR shooters. First up is the primary adaptable AR trigger. This trigger is a highly adjustable unit. You can use it for about any discipline you wanted to shoot, from long range on down to tactical or competition shooting, or even home defense if you like that way. It's very adjustable. It's a two-stage trigger. First stage is at 3/4 of a pound, and then your second stage is adjustable from about 1.5 pounds up to about 4 pounds. So total pull weight would be starting about 2.5 pounds up to 5 pounds, or in that neighborhood. So anyway, highly adjustable trigger. That's the primary adaptable trigger for the AR. That's the first offering. Okay, the second offering in the semi-automatic AR-15 line of trigger from TriggerTech is the competitive AR trigger. Now this is a non-adjustable drop-in trigger. Drop it in there and go. It's designed for your 3-gun matches, harsh environments, tactical beat-em-up type shooting where you might be abusing your rifle a little bit. Anyway, it's set up for a first stage of 3/4 pound, second stage 2 3/4 pounds, for a total pull weight of 3.5 pounds. And the other thing about this trigger is it has all the other options of the fine tuning done, like 15 thousandths over travel and only 30 thousandths for a reset on this trigger. So not a lot of movement there. Everything's been held to a fine standard. So this is the one you want for your competitive rifle. The third offering in the semi-automatic AR line from TriggerTech is the combat trigger. A lot like the competition trigger, it's a drop-in non-adjustable trigger. The same tolerances on your over travel and your reset, but it does have a little heavier pull weights. First stage is still 3/4 of a pound. Second stage is at 4 3/4 pound with a total pull weight of 5.5 pounds. So this allows you to be a little heavier trigger where you may not need that precise, more of a combat situation where you need a little stiffer pull, shooting offhand more or less, and that sort of thing. So in conclusion here, I guess I just want to touch back on the fact that I have been using these triggers for some time. They meet my standards and my approval. I love the fact I don't have to mess with a sear anymore to get it crisp. That worry of getting a sear too light and having an accidental discharge is gone. One screw adjustment for my bolt action rifles. I love that. And how much do I like it? Well, I'll tell you what. If you guys been following me, you know about the 30 nozzler build that I've been doing, where I've picked the finest of components to assemble a rifle that I feel is going to be the ultimate everyday carry rifle, something you would take for long range use into the hills and cover all your needs, both near and far. What trigger did I choose for that build? The special trigger, the one that'll go down to 1 pound from TriggerTech. That's going to be in there, so when we review that whole rifle as a whole, we'll probably be talking again about the TriggerTech choice there and how I like it after I get that very light rifle altogether. A lot of us believe that the lighter you go with the gun, the lighter you want to be able to adjust the trigger, and the more it becomes important to have a clean break. A heavy gun, you can get away with a little bit more because that gun's not so apt to move when you're trying to pull that trigger and break it clean. So that's where these lighter triggers and something that breaks exactly the same every time is going to really help you on your consistency. So that's my review on TriggerTech Triggers. Check them out. They're for sale on Rockslide. Long Range Only may sell them at some point. We're looking at them real hard to put in our new store we've opened up there. Check out our store on longrangeonly.com. You can find these triggers and all the fine Christensen Arms rifles. Been shooting them all winter, haven't had a bit of problem. Been taking out a lot of game with the Christensen Arms line this year, and not a trigger issue at 10 below, not a trigger issue at 30 degrees. I mean, they were fine all year. So that's my review. Jeff Brozovich at longrangeonly.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We're out there every day with new little blurbs coming out about what we're up to and what we're doing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hey, come over to the site, the website. It's growing dramatically. There's people coming in there all the time. We got a lot of great shooters coming in. You can talk with these people on the forum. You can watch the reviews that are all libraried on the front page. So again, Jeff Brozovich, enjoy doing this. Hope you found it interesting. We'll be back to see you soon with another review.